All right. What's up, Cole? How you doing?
Great, homie. Excited to
Yeah.
be here. Excited to drop some value. Excited to have a conversation. How are you?
Yeah, good. Appreciate it. Yeah, we're on opposite ends of the of North America.
Yeah, where are you right now? Florida, right?
But yeah, Florida, South Florida.
I love Florida. We ended up spending a little bit of time in Miami last year. We're actually debating on going back over the next like 2, 3 months because me and my wife love the heat.
In Miami. Yeah, did you
Yeah.
guys you and Brian, you guys did was it in Orlando or no, maybe Arizona. Where was the big
The big event?
Yeah, I had a
No, we
friend who
did that down in Texas, right where Houston. We did it at the Alpha Land Gym, like right down the street from there.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because one of my buddies is a personal trainer. He was there.
What's
Yeah, let me see. Let me pull him up real quick. Probably see kind of the content there. Because ever since he went to that program, it just all his stuff took off, right? They started posting a million times, and
Yeah, I like that.
yeah. But yeah, that was what, like a month ago, 2 months ago.
Bro, I don't even know. I don't even remember. It was like a solid 2 to 3 months before Christmas, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I couldn't even tell you. I'm like, I operate 100% based off of a notepad, a to-do list, and calendar every day because my brain doesn't even work anymore. We're doing too many things.
Where's it? I don't know. His Instagram's not popping up. Anyway, passing on that. But yeah, obviously it's I see your stuff and Brian's stuff, and obviously it's leading people to a lot of success. Can you, for the audience, can you explain more of really what it is?
Yeah, so primary business, main focus on a daily basis is mine and Brian's company, PT Domination. Long story short, we are a business consulting agency, for lack of a better term, teaching personal trainers, fitness professionals, fitness coaches how to grow and scale their businesses online. Why? Because we both worked in a gym. He worked in a gym for a lot longer than me. I actually only worked in a gym for 2 months before I said this is bullshit and I wanted to start something online. We built up a multi six-figure company through online coaching and was like, we could help other people do this. So we started PT Domination, where we now help fitness coaches do the same thing.
That's awesome. And then what kind of got you into the gym world, right? Because, it's when we're talking about self-improvement, right? Everyone's just like, go
Mm.
to the gym, go to the gym, go to the gym. But it's like, I like to say it's without health, you don't have anything else, right?
Yeah,
So
dude.
it's, people kind of, I don't know if they wash over it, but it's a really important part, right? But it leads to everything else. I know people, there's also content and people like, oh, no, you don't need to go to the gym. It's like, just put your head down and work. And it's like, well, I can't run my day like that, Need
The
that.
thing is that there's people in the world that definitely can just put their head down and work, but they aren't the people who need to listen to the advice of go to the gym to build the habits and the routines necessary to see success. Because if they were, quote unquote, they were the people that could just put their head down and work, then we wouldn't have any losers in this fucking world because they would have worked and already saw success. That's not the reality of life. I got into fitness because I was just that. I was a loser. I was a broken person. I was a drug addict, iron worker with nothing to my name, $20,000 in debt, going nowhere, couch surfing from friends' houses to my siblings' couches when I was in Calgary, Alberta, mid between Toronto and here. You have no idea where that is, but that's
No,
perfect. That's
it's
besides the
right.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I was just going nowhere in my life. I reached a point where I wanted to change and I hated where my current situation was. So I found fitness in my darkest time. It gave me an outlet because I had no money. I had no friends. I had no partner. I had no job that I enjoyed. I was working a job that I hated. So the only thing that I could physically control was, okay, what do I put in my mouth on a daily basis and how do I utilize my body? So fitness gave me the outlet I needed to start knowing what it was like to be a winner, knowing what it was like to start winning on a daily basis.
Well, how long, how long were you in Calgary for? I mean, you grew up there, right? And then how long
Nah.
did
So
no?
I grew up in Thunder Bay, Ontario until I was around
Oh, I know where
18,
that is
19.
too, dude.
Yeah, bro. I grew up murder capita Canada. Like we grew up doing some crazy shit.
Thunder Bay's murder capital?
Yeah, it's top three for the last like 10 years, bro. Just it's like beautiful, but a shithole at the same time. Everybody's just a bunch of assholes.
That's funny. I have a friend, she lives in Toronto, but she grew up in Thunder Bay. Her family has a tree company, and she was showing me like, hey, this is on Google Maps. She's like, this is where I live. This was the company right across the street. There's a shit ton of trees everywhere. And she's like, my school's an hour away each way. And I was
Hmm.
like, you're gonna go an hour bus ride there and back every single day. So
Oh,
yep.
but that was normal, dog. So yeah, I grew up Thunder Bay, Ontario for the first like 8 to 9 years of me being raised. Then when I was 9 years old, we ended up moving to 6 different houses. So I moved all over Canada. Then we went back to Thunder Bay. Then I moved out to the country, dog. I'm talking about 45 minutes in the country in a 800 square foot trailer on 150 acres on a well with fucking nothing around us. So like my bus ride was an hour and a half every morning.
Jesus.
Every morning, bro. That was the thing to get to school. So it was like we grew up with literally nothing. And then when I turned 18, 19, me and the homies who, let us be real, all we did every day was scrounge up money to do drugs and drink. That's what our life was. We're like, let's take a road trip out to Calgary, check out the homies. We can fucking link up with people. Now I'm the middle child of 5 siblings. Both my older siblings were in Calgary at the time. So I was like, I'm game. Let's do the road trip. We drove 31 hours. It actually only takes like 21 hours to drive to Calgary around there, but it took us extra long because we were picking up these hitchhikers and getting them fucking hammered and blasted. It was hilarious, dude. It was so much fun. 100%. Huge shit show. It was bad, but it was fun. Got to Calgary, partied for a week, and while I was there, my older brother at the time was like, "Why the fuck would you go back to Thunder Bay?" He's like, "You're a drunk, you're an alcoholic, you just do drugs all the time, you're going nowhere with your life, and you're an overnight stalker at Walmart. Like, there's nothing going there for you. Why would you go back?" And I just listened to him and was like, "Well, what am I supposed to do?" He's like, "Well, if I get you a job interview, will you stay?" I was like, "Okay, yeah, right." Like, I was just like, "Okay," basically, like, fucking try it because we were leaving 2 days later. He went into an ironworking company. Scott Builders is the one that I worked for, and talked to the Scottish guy. The Scottish guy's like, "I'll give Cole a chance." I went in. The Scottish guy literally told me, this is verbatim: "Yo, if you pick up that beam, I'll hire you." That was my interview. I walked into the ironworking company, spoke to the boss, and he said, "If you pick up that beam, I'll hire you as a laborer." I picked up the beam, moved it 10 feet over. Dope. $18 an hour job. I told my friends I wouldn't be going back to Thunder Bay. They drove back without me, and that was all she wrote. But I lived in Calgary for like 4.5 years until I met Brian and we started this company.
Damn, okay. So yeah, I haven't been out to Kelowna. I mean, I see there's, people post about it all the time. It's beautiful. But yeah, it's funny because I grew up in Pennsylvania,
Mm.
and until you start making conscious decisions or you're more just a product of your environment, I tell everybody like, hey, if you grew up somewhere, just leave. I don't care
Hmm.
how great it is because it's just you'll stay stuck. And
Well,
it's like people with good intentions because they have nothing better to do there, they just find trouble, right? It's a lot of drinking, partying, especially Canadians. I don't know what it is with you guys. You guys love the party.
bro, it's cold as fuck up here, dog. That's why. All right. This
Yeah.
thing, you guys grow up and you're like, "Oh, it's cold. Like we got winter." You guys have no idea. Like you put it this way, when I worked as an iron worker, my beard would be iced within half an
Yeah.
hour. Like my beard would break off. That's how cold it gets up here. So it's like and nothing to do other than party and do drugs. But I want to touch on what you just spoke about because I agree with what you're saying, but I disagree with the sentiment behind it, and this is why. We are all a product of our environment, yes, to a certain degree. And the
Mhm.
thing is that if you don't start working on yourself in some facet, whether it's mentally, physically, emotionally, or financially, if you don't find the why as to why you would like to change and do something with your life, it doesn't matter what environment you get into, you will find a way to self-sabotage and destroy your situation. I was an
Oh yeah, no, I
alcoholic and a
agree with you.
drunk from like 15 to 19 in Thunder Bay. Moved to
Yeah.
Calgary. I was like, this is gonna be my big break. Dude, I was in Calgary for 4 years before I met my business partner of today. But the first 2 years, I was a drug addict, addicted to Percocets, drinking every day with no one around me because I just went from broken, alone, alcohol, drugs with all these friends to 100% alone with nobody. And my only outlet was, well, all I know is drinking and drugs. So I'm just going to go back to that because I hate the job I have and I need to give myself an outlet because my body's breaking down.
Yeah, it makes sense. That's been coming a lot with clients and stuff. I mean, sitting and listening to all their stories of kind of where it started and how it progressed. A lot of them have just dropped it, right? And there's plenty of different stories. So what was the big thing? And I like what you said about the environment thing too, and trying to
Yeah.
connect that to the gym too. It's like, well, if your environment sucks, what's the one thing you can do, right? And it's like, what's the
Yeah.
one thing that can get you moving? Is it, you know, finding new people? Is it going to the gym? It's something that moves you, like has to physically move you out of
Yeah.
what you're currently in, right? And what I see when people get stuck in, just situations they don't like or drugs or whatever, it's not, they don't go in there thinking like, hey, this is what I want to do, right? It just kind of creeps up on them, right? So if they're
Yeah.
aware or not, you at least 90% of the stories, it's been very, it's just a little bit at a time, a little bit, and it just builds, 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 right? And then eventually
Mhm.
it kind of breaks them, and then they make the choice and say, hey, once it's a clear black and white, like, hey, it's not for me. So I know a lot of people that they've gone through different therapies, maybe 12 step, may have served them. Some people, they just quit cold turkey, right? Like for me, one of the things that I've done to drop vices was just like, today's the day, So,
Mhm.
but that, it could be from years of hurting yourself, hurting yourself, hurting yourself. And then one day it's
Yeah.
just like, then I'm ready to put it down. So, and that's sort of what I get from most people is like, hey, you can do all these things, but it's not until you make that decision, you make that choice and
Yeah.
really stick to it, right? And that's that day, that's that turning point.
100%. Dude, that was my exact situation. I
Yeah.
developed a Percocet addiction where I was eating on low end days when I was running out of pills, 4 to 5 minimum. When I was fluent, because I had a bunch in my pocket, I'd black out at 10 and I wouldn't remember working because I wasn't just the addict who sat in the dark room and experimented with Percocets and alcohol. I would go work and operate machinery and operate 100-foot boom lifts, fucking scaling buildings 40, 50, 60 feet in the air, walking beams while blacked out on Percocets and alcohol and not even remembering what was going on. And there was multiple times where I thought about quitting, but I ended up reverting back to the old self because I actually developed my Percocet addiction due to what ironworking was doing to my body. I was waking up with what they deemed as carpal tunnel, not being able to open my hands because my hands were so beaten down from the vibration. How do I explain it to people? Is like, when you hit a bar or a ball with a wooden baseball bat and you fucking
Yeah.
feel the vibration through your hands? Now picture that for 8 hours. It fucked my shit right
Yeah.
up, dude. So I didn't understand it. I put my body through too much pain. Percocets were something to help me, and then it just became a bad thing. But yeah, when I ended up quitting and getting away from it, it was just a choice. I hated who I was. So I literally dumped all the pills that I had down the toilet. I cut cold turkey, went through extreme pill sickness. I felt like I was going to puke every day, was puking on a consistent basis. My knees felt like they were concaving and breaking. Like it was some of the worst pain ever. But I just isolated the fuck out of myself, cut out all friends, all bad surroundings, deleted all dealers' numbers, stopped hanging out at the old places, and cut out cold turkey like that.
So was there, in addition to that, was there any catalyst or was it, I mean, was the pain the primary catalyst or was there
It was
a
like a
bit?
mix. The thing that started the addiction was the pain. I wanted
Mhm.
something to help me keep working. When I decided to quit, it was more of just a buildup of me being exposed to a version of myself that I did not like. I'm very good at holding my liquor. I'm very good at holding my quote unquote highs based off of the drugs that I would take. I'm fully sober now. That's besides the point. But when it came down to these things, there was always that one edge. I could drink all day and do all these drugs until this certain point. And this certain point, I would black out. And then I would see myself in a video the next day, when it comes to a story the next day, an audio the next day, a phone message the next day. And hearing those things always made me very disgusted with myself, made me very frustrated because I had put myself in a position to be embarrassed by individuals that I held dear. I put myself in a position to let down a lot of people in a big way. So there wasn't one specific catalyst where it was like, this happened, I hit rock bottom, I got arrested. It was more of, I can remember 15 to 20 different instances of me making an embarrassment of myself, people telling me the stories from the night before, people recording me because they were making fun of me, i.e., old friends. And they're like, look how dumb you look the next day. And it was just a man that I didn't want to be anymore. I was sick of
Yeah.
being that person.
It's interesting. I think when people, I hear a lot of people say, "Oh, I hit rock bottom." I'm like, I don't know. Rock bottom's a pretty bumpy place. Like you hit rock bottom, it's kind of like you
Bro,
can
I hit
bounce for a
rock
little
bottom and
bit.
then dragged against those fucking rocks for years.
Yeah, no, I've done it too. I think people don't understand. It's like rock bottom's not just like a hit and go. It's like you stay there for a while until you're ready. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's hard to get up once you hit rock bottom. That's how it was for me for a very long time.
Yeah, and then when you started moving forward, were there any, key people? You said you got new friends or any mentors, anybody? What was sort of a system or structure that kept you focused and consistent?
Yeah, so the beginning of it was just straight, intense, ruthless isolation. When I decided to cut out the drugs, get away from the old habits, and start to transform my life, I had nobody around me. So what I did is I stopped going to the bar. I stopped hanging out with the old friends. I stopped messaging the dealers, stopped messaging the girls, deleted all the dating apps. And all I did was work for 8 to 10, maybe 12 hours outside, depending on the shift work that we were doing. And then I'd go straight to the gym for 2 hours. I'd come home and I'd go to sleep. That was literally what I did for 6 months straight. There was also a mix of boxing in there because I boxed for years. It's one of my favorite things to do. And through that isolation, I found who I was. And then because of the personal development, new opportunities came in. So all I would do is again, work, train, sleep, work, train, sleep. Through me working on my body, eating healthier food, actually working on my fitness. Funny enough, one of my coworkers, the one who originally introduced me to Percocets, never knew how bad it got for me because I didn't express it publicly. I was just in the depths taking all these pills that they didn't realize. The one who introduced me to Percocets is also the one who introduced me to my business partner and best friend of today. He's like, yo, my girlfriend, her brother is
So,
working with a coach and he's seeing some crazy results. Cole, you've been on your fitness game like crazy. Like we're seeing you transform in front of our eyes. Like maybe it's time for you to take this to the next level. Like you should message a coach and see what their plan is. And I
so
fucking sent him a message and bam.
did he connect you with Brian to get in shape or to
It
build a
was
coaching
more of
business?
just like I was working with this random app that I found online, really no structure. I just downloaded an app. I was following my foods, calculating it based off of the app and trying to meal prep and eat and train
Yeah.
based off of like YouTube workouts and different things that I found online and my past experience of just being that bro split trainer. I'm going to bench, I'm going to curl, you know what I mean? So it was less of like, oh, let's connect with Brian because you want to do a show or anything else. And he just saw an opportunity. He just saw my dedication and was like, yo, listen, like again, my girlfriend's brother is doing something with this coach and he looks great. You're taking fitness mad serious. Maybe you should do it. Because at the time, we were working out of town. So I would do anywhere from 12 to 14-hour shifts out of town. And then I'd go to a community center and I would train for 2 hours. And then I'd go back to the motel, sleep. I'd wake up and I'd do it again. So I was doing that while we were out in the fucking woods, Sparwood, British Columbia, Canada. This is like boony woods, bro. Like you're in the fucking mountains. There's nothing around you other than a motel. You want to go to a town and party, you have to drive an hour and a half.
Yeah. And then people still
Yeah.
complain they can't get their workouts done.
Don't even get me started on that shit, dog. Fucking shut the fuck
So,
up, please.
so yeah, I mean, it's, I understand people are different positions, but it's like it's the same thing with like quitting the drugs, right? It's like you either want to quit or you don't, right? It's not until you really want to do it.
There's
Um,
no excuse not to train, period. I don't give a fuck about your position or where you're at in your life. You should
yeah,
always work out. You should always move your body. You should always eat healthy. There's no excuse not to.
yeah. So before when you met Brian, the business wasn't even birthed yet. He wasn't like an online coach in the same way.
No, he was. So it was actually the very beginning of our company, but originally his company, Aesthetic Nation. So he ended up going to Bali the beginning of the year we met, right? It was
Mm,
like the end of 2015. And that's when he started Aesthetic Nation, kickstarted it, started to bring on like a few fitness clients. He was only making around 8 grand a month when he brought me on as a competitor because he forced me to do a show because he knew through doing a fitness competition, I would literally eliminate drugs, eliminate alcohol, and become the person that I wanted to be.
yeah, that's what
So,
happened. That's what happened to me when I was competing 8 years ago.
yeah, bro.
I was never like a super. I was like a weekend partier, right? Nothing too crazy. But the first time I did a show, my coach was like, "Yo, can't drink at all," right? So it was
Yeah,
my first season. I think it was a 10-month diet. I did 4 or 5 shows,
nice,
and then
bro.
after that kind of long period of like not drinking and just being super on point, I was like, "Oh, I don't really need this stuff anymore."
Yeah,
Right.
bro.
So that's a cool way, I think that's a cool way to what I tell everybody, it's like if you don't have anything, if you have a 16-hour day, right, and you do the right thing for 12 hours, but the other 4 hours you're just sitting around, what else is there to do, right? So it's like if you're doing
Yes.
good for 12 hours and you're not going to do good for the next 4 hours, the only thing you can put there is stupid bad shit,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Well,
it's
and the
like,
problem is that society will tell you to put the stupid bad shit there because that's what equals up to balance. When balance is a lie sold to the masses to keep everybody mediocre and in the same place they've been
oh,
forever.
I think balance is complete bullshit because what's going to
Yep.
happen is what I see. This is one of the hermetic principles is rhythm, right? It's like kind of easy way to explain it is like what goes up must come down. So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, you do all this good, and energy always wants to balance itself out. So it's like that's why everyone's in this yo-yo effect of like, oh, it's good, it's bad, it's good, it's bad, and
Hmm.
it takes more energy to polarize yourself on that good side, right? It's
Hmm.
because everybody's seen this, but maybe it's like, oh, I had an amazing week. And what happens right after that? It's like, oh, they get crushed or something. This happens, this situation, whatever, tries pulling them back. And people go, oh, well, guess it's not for me. Oh, yeah, I had a great week. I should just get drunk on the weekends, balance, right? I'm like, that's,
Can't fucking stand the term balance, bro. Not even a little bit.
yeah,
Like
it's
it's
just
something
a,
that I've never embraced.
it's just really irresponsible stuff, right? It's trendy. It makes life easier. People want an easy life, but they don't want to earn it. So they could just say these things are just like, oh, yeah, just a little bit of alcohol won't hurt me. I'm like, yeah, Just alcohol. It's if it leads to cancer, it's just a little bit of cancer. It's not bad, right?
Well, and that's the thing. It was like I cut out drugs, went 100% sober off of all hard drugs. I think it was like 10 years ago. I can't say all drugs because then I smoked weed a couple times within the last 10 years, but I'm 100% sober off of everything now for 3+ years. October 26, 2021 was actually the day that I put drinking down completely. It was always had a crutch on me, always had something to do with my life, even through all the growth of the businesses and the fitness competitions. Because again, I never realized that there was a problem until October 26th. It was actually my fourth show. Same thing, put it down. I was like, I can't drink during the prep because it's too many added calories, just like I haven't drank during my other preps. So I need to chill it out. And then when I ended up hitting 100 days sober after doing the show, it was like I had a come to Jesus moment being like, homie, you haven't gone a week without polishing a full bottle of Hennessy and a bottle of champagne. Like you have a fucking problem. And I like looked back at it and was like, I've been drinking full bottles, like 40s and 2.6s almost every week since I was 14 years old. I was like, it's time to stop. Like we need to cut this shit the fuck out. So it was a big shift moment in my life. 10 years sober from drugs, 3.5 years sober now, or 3 years sober from alcohol, never going back.
Right, it's funny when I tell people the same thing. I don't do anything, right? They're like, when I'm like, oh, I don't drink, I don't smoke, anything like that. They're like, but you do this, right? I'm like, no. They're like, what about this? No. Like, well, you're spiritual. Must do psychedelics, right? I'm like, none of that shit. I want full control of my body. I don't want,
Why do
I
you
don't
need
want.
to do psychedelics if you're spiritual? This is the mentality that I don't understand with people. Just
It's
because it's
it's
like when you express that you're sober and you don't want to do any drugs or psychedelics or alcohol or anything else, it's the instinct of others to project what they feel onto you because you make them feel weird for needing the alcohol or needing the drug or needing the psychedelic to do what they want to do with their lives.
Yeah, the psychedelic thing's really interesting in the spiritual world because you got to look at everything as like, does it give or take power away, right? So if you need a
Hmm.
thing, as an individual, you shouldn't need a thing to obtain something, or it's taking power away. So I know a lot of people like, but you got to try this thing, that thing. I did this trip in South America, whatever, it was amazing. And I was like, well, what'd you actually take back with it? When you go, smoke, do a drug, drink, whatever, what are you actually taking back that like stays? Right. And they're like, I was talking to this guy during Art Basel a month or so ago, or whatever. And he's like, oh, I did this big journey and all this stuff, and like psychedelics. And I was like, did it like stay? And he's like, and he thought about it because people don't really have clarity to ask him these questions. He's like, you know what? No, it didn't. And I was like, well, why'd you do it then? It's because it's sort of this stuff like we were saying about the other stuff. It's like it just gets pumped out there and people
Hmm.
don't use the discernment. They don't take a second, just think about it. They're like, huh, there's no critical thinking anymore. Yeah, it's just, it really comes down to like responsibility, right? That's when you're gonna get power. This whole conversation, it's like, it's not until you take responsibility and say, hey, this is what I want. That's when you move
Hmm.
forward. Did something that's natural in that process, what were the temptations like after you quit? Because I remember I still had little like, oh yeah, it would be nice, I was in a social setting and like, oh, it'd be nice to have a drink, this or that, whatever.
So my thing is like I will openly automatically say I still love alcohol. I just refuse to do it. Like when I
Yeah.
smell somebody mix rum and Diet Coke, like I will smell that and be like, "Oh, that's fucking good smell, bro." I just refuse to do it. And the reason why is because I was made aware of my faults. I was made aware of my problems. Now, this is something where I'm very hesitant to talk about my sobriety transformation. I just say that I'm sober on social media, usually due to the fact that there are a lot of people that went through way more drastic addictions than myself. And when it came down to me making the choice, like when I say I made the choice to quit drugs, I literally dumped the pills down the toilet cold turkey and went through the pill sickness when a lot of people needed to go to rehab. When it came down to alcohol, I just made a choice. I dumped all the alcohol down the sink and I've never gone back. Now, has there been subtle urges of like, well, it'd be easier to have a drink? Not really. Like, there's been times where I'm like, oh, I know how that would taste and that might taste good. But
Yeah,
like when
that's what
I
I'm
made a
saying.
choice, dude, that was game over for me. Like, we ended up going to Vegas. I think it was like 4 weeks after I quit drinking for the first time ever. And everybody got fucking turbo blasted. And I was just pounding some energy drinks and drinking water. And I was like, all right, guys, let's go. Let's fucking gamble. Let's dance. Let's have some fun. I don't know. It's something that's always been with me since I was a kid. Once I take an active decision to make a choice on something, it's just game over. I'll never look back. And it doesn't really tempt me or pull me in a certain direction. It's just the choice that I made.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I feel the same way. It's been tempting. There's been different times where it's been tempting, but it's you kind of once you have, I think the easiest way to go cold turkey is like once you put yourself in such an extreme situation, you're like, no, I don't want that. I don't want that
No.
hangover. I don't want that crash, whatever. It's just,
Well, it's also like, dude, again, I've been drinking since I was 14 years old. The first time I smoked weed and did drugs was 11. Like I've been in this game for 2 decades now. I just turned 30. So when it
yeah.
came down to wanting to drink or wanting to party or wanting to do these things, the first thing in the back of my mind is, okay, having a small drink, is that a gigantic deal or a big deal? No. But like also, do I fucking need it? Like, do I need to have this rum and coke to relax after a long day? Or can I just sit down and relax with my family after a long day? It's always the sub. Like, I don't need the alcohol in order to relax my body, relax my mind, enjoy the time with my family, or enjoy the time with my friends. So I'm not going to take it, period.
No, would you have any? You have kids, right?
I just have one. Yeah, he's 2 years old.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I have a daughter. It's interesting because you can't really explain. There's certain parts of life you can't explain until somebody just experiences it, right?
Right.
So I think big key moments for guys just by age is when you're 25, you start thinking more long term. When you're 30, entering 30, it seemed like everything just really locked and it got more serious, right?
Hmm.
It brings everything to the forefront. You're like, okay, this is what we're doing, right? And
Dude, 100.
then, I say, I tell guys that, I think this is amazing advice for guys in business is like, how do I make more money? I'm like, well, what's your commitment? What's your responsibility? Because if you're only taking care of yourself, we don't really care about ourselves, right? This is how we fall into
Dude,
all
guys don't
this.
give a fuck about themselves, not even a little bit.
No, but we're inspired. We have a good woman. If we have people to take care of, it's like that's why we're doing everything. It's not about us. If it's just us, we would just live under a rock and go work out. Like,
Well, dude, and it's funny, right? So one of my age-old goals, it's on my goal boards, my vision boards. It's really only one of the main goals that I have is legacy, i.e., like I want my name to live on forever. Now that doesn't mean Cole DaSilva, that just means DaSilva. I'm the first DaSilva in my entire family to do anything that I've done. Or when it gets fully sober, make the money that I've made, buy the houses that I've bought, the cars that I have, like do what I've done for my family, the first DaSilva to do it. So mine realistically isn't even selfishly for me. I want the name to live up to it once I'm gone. And I talked about that when myself and my wife were having a conversation. I was like, everything that I do on a daily basis is it's not for me, even though technically at the forefront it is, it's selfish. This is why we grind. We wake up. We want the money. We want the growth. We want the exposure. We want whatever. This is to the forefront, but it's more for what comes after. Like I'm doing all of this for the people around me now, selfishly a little bit for me, but the people around me now and what's going to come after I leave. So when I leave, the family's set up, the name's set up, the kids are set up, the grandkids are set up. That's the ultimate goal.
yeah, I think, well, that's another thing people have a hard time understanding, right? It's like they think, the immediate draw is, hey, I take care of myself, right? Which is fine. You got to fill your own cup before you can help other people. But once you expand that next level of responsibility, whether it's family or business, it's you're taking care of everybody else first. And
Yeah.
then that's how you fill yourself up through that, right? So it's a shift in perspective of service,
Hmm.
right? Do you think what's driving you in the fitness coaching does go back to your your experience with drugs and how the gym actually helped you, just so you can share and expand that for people?
Yeah, dude, 100%. So, primary business, PT Domination, Brian and myself now help fitness coaches grow and scale their online businesses. We ended up folding Aesthetic Nation, our fitness coaching company, to start our business coaching company. But I am now bringing the fitness coaching back due to how much I believe in fitness coaching and the
Yeah.
development of people's bodies and minds. What like fitness saved my fucking life. If I didn't start getting in the gym, working on my body, working on my mindset, worrying about what I was putting into my mouth and how I was serving myself on a daily basis, I probably wouldn't be here because I was drinking every single fucking night. That is not an exaggeration. I was making $5,000 a month as an iron worker, and I was negative $1,000 in the hole every single month due to an overdraft because I would pay my bills and then Percocets and drinking. That's the only thing that I focused on. If it
I think
wasn't
as
for
a
fitness being my foundation, I would have been dead.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing to highlight, right? Because there's sort of three levels of, there's a, what is it, triangle of self-actualization, right? But it's like you got to take care of the physical needs first, then mental, then spiritual, right?
Hmm.
So it's like step one, and I like how you talked about too. It's like step one, get your body moving, do something physical, right? That motivated you to get rid of all the other shit. You're like, hey, now I'm ready just to clear out the friends that aren't serving me, the
Hmm.
drugs, everything, put that away. And the next step from there was like, let me get my mindset right, right? And
Yeah.
then there, it's like once your mindset's good, it's like, okay, how can I expand past the mundane, just the day-to-day, like the regular stuff, right?
Well,
So
and
it's
that was
cool.
just through my darkest pain. Like this is something I've spoken to people about in the past and a principle that I teach you at the program. Like your ultimate path to success is on the other side of your darkest pain in your life, the thing that you have overcome.
Yeah.
My thing was what saved Cole DaSilva and served me. It was fitness, it was direction, it was habits, it was rituals, it was all that shit. So I just broke it down and started teaching it. That's what got
Hmm.
me out of the life that I hated.
Oh
Right?
yeah. Yeah, it's exactly. People need when you're struggling because there's not a clear path or system, right?
Yeah.
So if you're struggling in business, it's because I've been in business, over a decade, and most of those, beginner years, and it's the same to anybody, right? It's like try this, try this, try this, try this. You're trying all these
Mhm.
things. You're like, shit, why isn't it working? You're kind of on that base level, just spinning your wheels. And what I believe is like you don't make actual success until you find that person that says, I already went through all that crap. Here's the system. And you're like, oh, because people try to force and it has to be their way. And I'm like, there is no your way. Like somebody's already done it for you. Find that person, you
Dude,
know?
100%. And that was like, that was the superpower the bride and myself partnering up and meeting each other when we did. Because originally, again, found him. He became my fitness coach, forced me to do two fitness competitions back to back. So I went into 12 months straight of prep, dieting like crazy, cardio every single day, chicken, rice, broccoli. I still have all the meal plans in my email. It was chicken, rice, broccoli. I'm talking about hour and a half of cardio almost every day, grinding my face off. But again, I won three shows back to back, first in overalls. My third
Yeah.
show, I actually went back to Thunder Bay, Ontario, and took the overall trophy in my hometown. So that was like a big transformation spiritual moment for myself. Like I used to be a drug addict here and an alcoholic, and now I'm this guy.
How many people were
The,
competing in Thunder Bay? Like there were
there was
two
two,
guys and some
no, three in
lumberjacks
my
and
individual class, five in the
yeah,
class above me, and then four that went to overalls, and I took everything.
that's awesome.
That was
I
cool, bro.
know, I want to respect your time. I know you said you got to wrap up shortly, but there's,
Hmm.
I want to highlight some things with your relationship with Brian. First starting as him being your coach, right? Because that's how you guys met.
Yeah.
How did it feel? I mean, were you open to do a competition, or he just like, hey, you're
Oh
doing
no,
this?
he literally said, so I spoke to him on the phone. This is
Yeah,
when we were trying to build a coaching relationship. And I was like, yeah, I'm just looking for a coach to give me some more direction. He's like, you're doing a show. And I'm like, no, I'm not. And he's like, yes, you are. And I'm like, no, I'm not. He's like, I'm not coaching you unless you do. And I was like, okay, well, what the fuck? So then I paid the 350 bucks that he was charging at the time. And he said, oh,
yeah.
by the way, I heard that you have a Percocet and an alcohol problem. If I catch you doing one thing, I'm going to kick you out of the program and keep all your fucking money. Now, what he didn't know
Wow.
is that accountability pushed me more than anything else because that's what I respond to: tough love, accountability, the brutalness. But
Yeah.
also, I didn't have the money. So I started selling things in my house to pay for his coaching for no other reason other than I didn't know why I shouldn't. I just felt like I needed to. So I started selling off games, PlayStations, Xboxes, clothing just to pay for the coaching instinctually because I had a gut feeling. And that's how it started.
You said three amazing things. Like it's the tough love, it's the accountability, and it's the feeling because I get that you probably get that at the same time when if I want to do something and somebody says, "Hey, it's this much money," I'm like, "Oh, I don't have that much money right now." I always try to figure out options, and I
Yeah.
think what stops people is their initial thought is, "Oh, that's too much. I can't do." It's their initial thought is, "I can't do it," right?
Yep.
Whether it's like time, energy, money, whatever it is. And guys like us is okay. Well, that's what it is. How can I do it, right? So it's like. Can you do a payment plan? Can you get rid of your stuff? Can you take another job? Can you do
Yeah.
something? I like that because I think that's huge for people that, shoot themselves in the foot before they even get started. Um, what was I going to say? I like how there's another thing too. It's like you had initial resistance and it gave you the tough love, right? And a
Yeah.
lot of people turn away from coaching because it doesn't agree with their shit. They want somebody to kind of baby them and be like, oh yeah, I want to get in shape, I want to do this, I want that, but they want it their way. There is no your way because their way is the superior way that's going to bring you out of your shit and get you those actual results. So 99% of the time, it's not going to agree with what you think it has to be,
100%. Well,
you
if
know?
your way worked, you'd already be in shape, you'd already be making money, you'd already be successful, but you're fucking not. And this is the problem, right? Andrew Tate said this on a podcast once. The only reason why individuals are struggling is because they are either lazy, stupid, or arrogant.
Yeah.
Arrogance is the thing killing people in today's society. Arrogance.
Mhm.
because they feel like it should be done their way. They feel like they know the path to success and they do not want to do it your way. When in reality, if they knew, they would fucking be there already. So until they learn to shut their mouth and just do the work, they're not going to get anywhere. Like that's why I
Sounds like me.
responded so well and we won so many shows because I was willing to just drop my ego
Yeah.
and be like, I'm a strong, hard-headed kid and I've been through a lot, but obviously this guy's doing something, so let me just listen.
I like that. But I like one last thing to highlight what you said. You said, I didn't know why I was doing it. I just had a feeling,
Yeah.
right? And anytime I did anything that drove me forward, because, we look at I don't know if you do sales calls or not, but they'll ask you, the people that ask just ridiculous questions or a million questions, they don't start, they never do good anyway, right? So I
Yeah.
try to be like, okay, whatever. The people, there's I think two things that qualify somebody well. It's the quality of the questions they're asking,
Mm,
because the quality of the questions shows me they have a willingness to actually move forward. They're asking very
yeah.
curious questions because it's kind of like if they ask me a really good deep question, it's like, okay, they're open so I can actually give them a good answer. And other than that, it's like the best way to decide if you want to work with somebody or not is like the feeling. If you're doing something, you're like, I don't know why I'm doing this, but it feels right and I trust this guy, just do it. It doesn't matter. Just, figure it out.
Well, dude, and that
Uh,
was the thing. It was every decision I've made in the last 8 years has been made through my gut. Like my
yeah.
gut is 100 no. I've never let my emotions dictate my actions, but I've always allowed my gut to dictate the path that I've walked, and it's never steered me wrong.
I wish we had another hour, because that's something really important that's been coming up almost every episode I'm doing, is the difference
Hmm.
between, you said it perfectly, the difference between emotion and feeling. It's like your gut is the feeling, it's a knowing. Your
Yeah.
emotion is all the bullshit and crap and
Yeah.
perspective and, oh, my girlfriend broke up with me. Oh, this happened, that happened. Oh, whatever, right? That's emotion.
Yeah,
That's all the junk and cloudiness just gets in the way. It's like
yeah,
the best thing to do with that is like, okay, you're pissed off. Go be pissed off for like 5 minutes, whatever, and then just focus on what the hell you need to do, right? Because if emotion is in the way, we can't have the emotion blocks us from the feeling, and the
yeah,
feelings are like it's a higher intelligence, right?
100%.
So I see that with a lot of guys, and those go back to all the shit social media miscommunication is social media says, oh, well, guys need to be more in tune and more emotional and stuff like that. It's like, fuck no. Guys need to be the guys shouldn't be emotional. Most people just shouldn't be emotional at
Yeah.
all. But, when you confuse people with that, the guy's like, well, I shouldn't feel anything either. And I think that's another thing that limits guys.
It's another dumb thing. It's the red pill, blue pill conversation that happens in today's society that is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, that's like, well, try it out, see how it works. And when you keep
Dude, like you
spinning your
need to
wheels.
learn how to be in tune with your feelings and listen to your gut. Because I listened to that gut feeling and I did hire Brian at that time, I went from a drug addict iron worker to an eight-figure earner. Last year we just made 10 million. And the reason why is because we came together. I was just his client. And I just embodied a bunch of core values that I wanted to be known as, even though I was a broke fucking loser. So every time he had a posing practice, I was there 30 minutes early, just like I was early for this podcast. Every time he had check-in day, I was the first one to get my check-ins in. After around a year to 2 years of me being his client, I became a trainer on his team. I didn't think it less than that. A year of being his client, I became a trainer on his team. After around a year of being a trainer on his team, I became a business partner in his company. We built up our main company to 56 to $60,000 a month consistently. And then we built the company that we have today, which is making us eight figures a year.
Yeah, so it's like you got to take those steps and you have to earn it too. Nobody wants to earn anything anymore.
Bro,
Do you
we've
have
we've been
how much
grinding ourselves into the dirt for fucking 8 years, bro. Like that's the fucking mentality you need to have.
I know people just don't want to do it anymore.
Mhm.
Do you need to jump off now, or you got like maybe 5 minutes?
Yeah, we got 5 minutes. Hit it.
Cool. Yeah, the final thing, because I think it's a really cool story of just how you
Yeah,
came
of course.
from, Thunder Bay or whatever, all the way up to where you are now.
Yeah.
And what I was saying kind of pre-call was the relationship with Brian too, because partnerships are tough, right?
Hmm.
With romantic partnerships, business partnerships, especially because it really muddies, especially in business, it really muddies the water, so it's tricky. So what
Yep.
would you say? Just to make it short, what are some tips you would tell somebody to make a successful business relationship?
Look at it like a marriage.
Yeah, that's good.
Like that's the main thing that I want to break down for people. This is the thing. Speaking about mine and Brian's relationship makes me emotional. This kid is not my business partner. He is my family. Like he is the brother that I always wanted, the brother that I needed to support me and push me and help me when I was a kid. I didn't grow up well with my family. Chose to start couch surfing at 14. I didn't have the people in my life that believed in me. He was the first person to give me that belief. So when we came together, all right, and this is literally how it happened. When I was gifted 25% of his business because he wanted to show that he believed in me just as much as I believed in him, that gift alone cemented everything. I was like, I'll be with you for the rest of your life now. This is it. Like, you have my undying loyalty because you finally have given me the belief that I've always wanted. It had nothing to do with the money. We ate shit together for years. Both lived in 600 square foot apartments, two blocks away from each other in Calgary, Alberta. It was never about the growing. It was never about the money. It was never about the quote unquote success and the Lamborghinis, the R8s, and the houses we have now. It was just about the vision that we had. So every bad, hard, stressful, sweaty palm, emotional conversation we've had, it didn't matter what was said in the argument because me and him literally we say this all the time. We're gonna die together. That's the mentality. We're not doing this for a fucking $1 million. We're doing this because we didn't have anybody who believed in us like we believe in each other. And we view it, as weird and funny as it sounds, we view the business partnership as a marriage, bro. Like, dog, we're gonna be on the porch making fun of kids as they're walking by. So
Yeah,
that's
that's
how
cool.
we've gone into it. We're not in this shit for a quick buck. We're in this shit for life.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's one of my teachers, the way he laid it out, similar to you. It's like you got to look at what you're creating as a kid, right?
Yeah.
If the business is a kid, it's like, well, how what do we want to do to serve the kid, right? Same thing with a relationship. You have a kid as well too. It's like
Yeah.
it's not about the individuals. It's about what you're producing. The individuals coming together to produce that thing.
That's it, bro. Right there. Everybody who's
Yeah.
listening to this, that you need to listen on repeat for the next 15 times. So many of you guys fucking suck dick at building business partnerships because you look at the individual rather than what you are building. We say this all the time verbatim. It's not our opinion that matters, it's the vision coming to reality that matters. So
Yeah.
when we get in arguments, because he is primarily marketing, I'm primarily retention. That is how we run our company. He brings the clients in, I give them the amazing service so they never leave. When we get into an argument, the person who is most passionate about the vision becoming reality due to the situation we are dealing with wins, period. It doesn't matter if we're like fucking angry, like yelling. As soon as the perspective kicks in, where it's like, this is why for the clients, the other person shuts up. And it does not matter if we're wrong or right, because we are not, what's the terminology I've used before? I'm not married to being right. I'm married to the vision becoming a reality. That's all I
Yeah.
care about. I don't give a fuck about proving you wrong as my business partner. I care about us coming together to create the vision for our clients and what we've always wanted to achieve. And until you have that synergy as a business partnership, you do not have the business partnership you want. You will never get to
Yeah.
where you want to be.
Awesome. That's it.
There we go, bro. There we
All
go.
right. All right. Let's end on that. Yeah, they can watch that last 5 minutes on repeat.
Cool.
All right,
I
man.
like that, bro.
I
There we go.
appreciate it. All right,
Yeah.
have a good one.
Thank you, G.
Just give me a second.